Welcome to NPJR Podcast, the podcast for nature lovers of all ages where we explore the outdoors one national park at a time. I'm Justin, and this podcast is all about national parks and a really awesome way for kids and adults to get involved in our national parks, the Junior Ranger program.
And I'm Robin. If you've ever wanted to become a park protector, explorer, and nature expert, this podcast is for you. We'll talk about how the Junior Ranger program began, what it's all about, and some fun facts you might not know.
Before we dive into our episode, we would each like to take a moment to say how excited we are about sharing our love of the outdoors and of our national parks. We are in no way formally affiliated with the National Park System. We're just passionate about travel and adventure, and it is our goal to visit all of the national parks and to bring our daughter along for the journey. This was an idea I had when we were in Washington, visiting Mount Rainier National Park. I saw junior rangers attending a ranger-led program and how excited they were to be outdoors, learning and receiving badges for participating in these educational programs. It inspired me to develop something for them and their parents. As an Eagle Scout and lifelong learner, outdoorsman, and traveler, I want to continue to encourage people of all ages to seek out adventure, specifically these places we call national parks, that have been preserved to enjoy the magic, splendor, and beauty they contain.
Yes, we sure do love to travel, and we love the outdoors. Justin and I are married and currently live in a great state to be outdoor enthusiasts, colorful Colorado. We have 4 national parks here in our state: Mesa Verde, Black Canyon of the Gunnison, Great Sand Dunes, and Rocky Mountain National Park. I work remotely, so we put in the time and resources to see as many places in the U.S. as possible to take advantage of my remote work opportunity before our wonderful and beautiful daughter joined us and expanded our family. I'm happy to say that I just visited my 50th national park as well as my 50th state, plus Puerto Rico. Our focus during these episodes is going to be on learning something new about national parks and the outdoors. We encourage you to pause the podcast at any time and discuss some of our talking points, or try answering our trail trivias scattered throughout each episode. The most important things to us are that you have fun, hopefully learn something new along the way, and that we inspire and encourage you to visit the great outdoors. Take a moment and pause the podcast and talk about a couple of the closest national parks to where you live and what you like most about them. When you come back, we will jump into the Junior Ranger program and how it all started.
So, how did the Junior Ranger program get started? Well, back in the 1930s, the National Park Service realized that getting kids involved in parks was a great way to inspire future generations to care about nature.
That's right. It began in California at Yosemite National Park when they started offering special activities for kids visiting with their families. By the 1980s, the program really took off. Parks across the country began developing fun activities that encourage kids to explore and learn while having a blast outdoors.
The goal is simple: help kids learn about the parks and understand why they're so special. And what better way to do that than giving them their own mission?
So here's how the Junior Ranger program works. When you visit a national park, you can pick up a Junior Ranger activity book at the Visitor Center. Each book has puzzles, scavenger hunts, and activities that teach you about the park's unique environment, history, and wildlife.
And you don't have to do it all on your own. Junior Rangers can attend ranger-led programs to learn even more. And here's the best part. When you finish your activities, you take the booklet to a real park ranger, recite the Junior Ranger oath, and earn an official Junior Ranger badge.
These badges are super cool. Each one is specific to the park you visit, and some parks even have special patches or stickers to collect. There's nothing quite like that feeling of becoming an official Junior Ranger.
Did you know there are 431 individual units that comprise the National Park System, which includes national parks, monuments, preserves, historical sites, recreation areas, battlefields, seashores, lake shores, memorials, parkways, rivers, and scenic trails in the U.S., and over 6,500 in the world. Many of them offer their own unique Junior Ranger program.
That's a lot of badges to collect. In fact, some kids make a goal to become junior rangers at as many parks as possible. One junior ranger reportedly earned over 300 badges. Now that's dedication.
And the Junior Ranger program isn't just for those visiting in person. Many parks now offer virtual Junior Ranger activities, so you can earn badges from home too. Just download the activity books from park websites, complete the tasks, and mail them in to get your badge. We will include the link to the Yellowstone National Park Junior Ranger activity book in the show notes.
One of the coolest parts of the program is the Junior Ranger Oath. When kids finish their booklet, a ranger leads them in a special pledge. I promise to explore, learn, and protect national parks and everything in them.
It's such a powerful moment, like joining a team of nature superheroes. And the mission doesn't stop when you leave the park. Junior Rangers are encouraged to explore, learn, and protect everywhere they go, even in their own neighborhoods.
Programs like these are so important. Not only do they get kids excited about nature, but they also teach valuable lessons about conservation and stewardship.
Exactly. It's all about building a connection with the outdoors and understanding that parks, and nature as a whole, need our care. Plus, families get to spend time together learning and exploring, which makes the experience even more meaningful.
And it's not just for kids. Families can participate together, and adults often say they learn just as much as the kids do. Some parks even offer Junior Ranger programs designed for adults, so no one has to miss out on the fun.
All right, it's time for some trail trivia. Here's today's question, which U.S. president is known as the Conservation President?
If you said Theodore Roosevelt, you got it. Roosevelt was a huge fan of the outdoors. He would have loved the Junior Ranger program. During his very active presidency, Teddy Roosevelt established approximately 230 million acres of public lands between 1901 and 1909, including 150 national forests, the first 55 federal bird reservation and game preserves, 5 national parks, and the first 18 national monuments.
Now it's time for our National Park Spotlight. Each episode, we will highlight one of our national parks or national park units and talk about its history, the landscape and wildlife, something we find interesting or unique about these wonderful sites, a personal story, trail suggestion we may have, and important safety tips. Many parks have overlapping animal species, so we will not dive as deep into these safety regulations each episode. Remember, you can always refer to the NPS website for the most up-to-date safety information, and we highly recommend you familiarize yourself with the plants and animals of the parks before you visit. This segment, like the episode in its entirety, is designed to be educational and informative, as well as entertaining, infotainment, if you will.
Without further ado, today we're headed to one of the most incredible places in the world, Yellowstone National Park, the park that started it all. Yellowstone is located in the northwest corner of Wyoming and extends into Montana and Idaho. Did you know Yellowstone wasn't just the first national park in the U.S., but also the first in the entire world? It all started way back in 1872 when President Ulysses S. Grant signed the Yellowstone National Park Protection Act. One of the big reasons Yellowstone became a national park was because of its mind-blowing geysers and hot springs. The park has more than 10,000 geothermal features, like Old Faithful. Fun fact, Old Faithful erupts every 60 to 110 minutes, almost like clockwork.
Yep, and every eruption can shoot boiling water as high as 180 feet in the air. You definitely don't want to stand too close to that. Did you know Yellowstone covers over 2.2 million acres? That's bigger than 2 Rhode Islands put together and makes Yellowstone the 8th largest national park in the U.S.
Whoa, no wonder bison, elk, and even grizzly bears roam free. Junior Rangers, here's your first challenge. When you visit Yellowstone, count how many animals you see, but from a safe distance, of course.
And while you're doing that, keep an eye out for the Yellowstone caldera. That's the giant volcanic crater under the park. It's called a supervolcano. And even though it's not going to erupt anytime soon, it's one of the biggest volcanoes on Earth.
That's right. Geologists think the last big eruption happened about 640,000 years ago. So, parents, you can breathe easy. The family vacation is safe. Let's take a deeper dive into what makes this geological wonder so unique and special. More specifically, let's talk about the geothermal phenomenon that makes Yellowstone. The NPS website says within Yellowstone's 2.2 million acres, visitors have unparalleled opportunities to observe wildlife in an intact ecosystem, explore geothermal areas that contain about half the world's active geysers, and view geological wonders like the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone River.
Wow. Half of the world's active geysers are in Yellowstone? That's impressive. According to the NPS website, Yellowstone National Park preserves the most extraordinary collection of hot springs, geysers, mud pots, and fumaroles on Earth. Microorganisms called thermophiles, or heat lovers, make their home in the hydrothermal features of Yellowstone. Individually, they are too small to be seen with the naked eye. So many are grouped together in the park's hydrothermal features, trillions, that they often appear as mats of color.
There are 5 types of hydrothermal features readily visible in Yellowstone. The first one are hot springs, and these are pools of hydrothermally heated water. Number 2, geysers. These are hot springs with constrictions in their plumbing, which causes them to periodically erupt to at least release the pressure that builds up. Number 3 are mud pots. These are hot springs that are acidic enough to dissolve the surrounding rock and typically also lack water in their systems. Number 4, travertine terraces. These are hot springs that rise up through limestone, dissolve the calcium carbonate, and deposit the calcite that makes the travertine terraces. And lastly, number 5 are fumaroles. These hot features, also known as steam vents, lack water in their system and instead constantly release hot steam.
Some of these features may not appear hot to the naked eye, but exercise extreme caution when visiting these very hot and very dangerous natural wonders. People have actually died because they underestimated the severity of these temperatures. Just because they are not visibly boiling or bubbling does not mean they are safe to touch. The hottest geyser in Yellowstone is twice as hot as boiling water. At Norris Geyser Basin, a research drill hole showed temperatures of 459 degrees Fahrenheit, about 237 degrees Celsius. Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow, that is hot. Hard to even imagine. One of my favorite features is Grand Prismatic Hot Springs. Old Faithful may be more famous, but the Grand Prismatic Hot Spring is the most photographed thermal feature in Yellowstone. That's because of its crazy bright colors and enormous size.
Again, safety is an important topic we will continue to discuss. For our next segment, we will dive into the world of wildlife in Yellowstone. Please visit the NPS website and click on Wildlife Safety to familiarize yourself with these guidelines, especially if you are planning your first visit to Yellowstone. When viewing wildlife, one of the most important factors is to stay at a safe distance. Elk are the most abundant large mammal found in Yellowstone and are an important species within the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Yellowstone provides summer range for an estimated 10,000 to 20,000 elk, most of which winter at a lower elevation outside the park. Elk can weigh more than 700 pounds or 317 kilograms. It is important to always stay at least 25 yards away from elk. Quick side note about elk, here in Colorado we have the largest elk population in the world, about 280,000.
Wow, that is a lot of elk. Another large mammal that inhabits Yellowstone is the bison. Yellowstone bison are exceptional because they comprise the nation's largest bison population on public land. Unlike most other herds, this population has thousands of individuals. 2024 stats estimate over 4,500 pre-calving bison that are allowed to roam freely over the expansive landscape of Yellowstone National Park and some nearby areas of Montana. Bison can weigh as much as 2,000 pounds. It is important to always stay at least 25 yards away from bison. Fun fact, Turner Ranches is said to own the largest bison herd in the world, clocking in at a staggering 45,000 bison spread across 14 ranches.
Now that is a lot of bison. Those are by far the largest mammal in the area. Next large animal in Yellowstone is the grizzly bear. The National Park Service website gives an estimate for the greater Yellowstone ecosystem of just under 1,000 brown bears, also known as grizzly bears. Safety among all wildlife is vital, but grizzly bears are a species to particularly respect. It is important to stay at least 100 yards, about the length of a football field, away from brown bears. Brown bears can run 35 miles per hour. That's fast. Usain Bolt, the world's fastest human, clocked a top speed of only 28 miles per hour. Their speed is even more impressive when you take into consideration their size. The largest grizzlies can weigh as much as 1,300 pounds. This information is important and not meant to scare anyone, but to educate. Take this information seriously, as the NPS website states. We just want you to be prepared when trekking into the wilderness, have fun, and stay alert. This is the home of the wildlife. We are just visitors.
Grizzly bears can also climb trees. They are not as adept at climbing as black bears, but they have been known to climb trees. The best way to stay safe is to avoid close encounters, but because we are in their territory, there is always a chance of coming across one. Always carry bear spray and know how to use it. According to the NPS website, once a bear has noticed you and is paying attention to you, additional strategies can help prevent the situation from escalating. Please check recommendations for each park you visit. Recommendations do vary from park to park based on local bear behavior. Here are some general tips.
I will quickly zip through this, but it is an important topic to touch on. Identify yourself, stay calm, pick up small children, hike and travel in groups, make yourselves look as large as possible. Do not allow the bear access to your food. Do not drop your pack, as it can provide protection from your back and prevent a bear from accessing your food. Do not run. Like dogs, they will chase fleeing animals, and they can run as fast as a racehorse, both uphill and down. If the bear is stationary, move away slowly and sideways. This allows you to keep an eye on the bear and avoid tripping. Moving sideways is also a non-threatening move. Do not climb a tree. Both grizzlies and black bears can climb trees. Leave the area or take a detour. If this is possible, wait until bear moves away. Always leave the bear an escape route. Be especially cautious if you see a female with cubs. Never place yourself between a mother and a cub, and never attempt to approach them. The chances of an attack escalate greatly if she perceives you as a danger to her cubs. Bears may also react defensively by woofing, yawning, salivating, growling, snapping their jaws, and laying their ears back.
Next up, the other bears. And yes, Smokey the bear is one of these. We are talking about black bears. Black bears are very common in Yellowstone. The estimated population is 500 to 600. Large adult males can weigh as much as 660 pounds. The safety guidelines for black bears are not exactly the same as it is for brown bears. Stay at least 40 feet from black bears at all times. That's about 12 meters. Unlike with grizzlies, in the event of an attack, do not play dead. Fight back against black bears. Also, not all black bears have black fur. Their colors range from cinnamon, blonde, brown, or black. Brown-colored black bears are commonly mistaken for grizzly bears. A common identifying feature of grizzly bears is the distinct hump on their back above their shoulders. Black bears are generally more intimidated by humans than grizzlies, so acting big and making lots of noise is encouraged. Again, always carry bear spray, know how to use it, and have it accessible, not tucked away deep in a pack.
Bears sure do seem cuddly on TV, or as a stuffed animal on the bed. But in person, that is just not the case. That time in Glacier National Park, when we shared that trail for a short time with the massive grizzly bear in front of us, sure did have us on edge. It kept looking back at us, taking a few steps in the other direction, then turning back and looking at us again. Such a wild experience. How about a quick break from animals? Robin, do you have a favorite trail or area of the park?
I don't know if I have a favorite because there is just so much here, but I do love an area we have already mentioned, the Norris Geyser Basin. The milky porcelain geysers are surreal. Justin, what animal is up next?
The next animal is another large mammal. It is majestic and elusive. I am talking about the moose. This is my favorite land animal. Yellowstone houses fewer than 200 moose, but that is still a large number considering they are the largest member of the deer family, weighing in at over 1,000 pounds. It's important to stay at least 50 yards or half a football field away from moose at all times. Moose can run the same speed as grizzly bears, and surprisingly, they are graceful swimmers, being able to swim at 6 miles per hour for up to 2 hours. That is really impressive if you consider the fastest human swimmer in history, Michael Phelps, recorded a top speed of 6 miles per hour, but only for a short distance, nowhere near the 2 hours that a moose can swim. I think that about does it for the massive mammals of Yellowstone. Now let's cover some of the smaller inhabitants of the park before we wrap up the animal segment.
Sure thing. Gray wolves. Gray wolves are an apex predator species found in Yellowstone, meaning nothing hunts them, and they are at the top of the food chain. As of 2024, the park website says there are at least 124 wolves in the park. During the winter, 90% of their diet comes from elk, while in the summer months, it consists more of deer and smaller animals. Stay at least 100 yards from a wolf. Wolves can run up to 38 miles per hour in short bursts. This does not make them the fastest species in the park. Can you guess what animal is the fastest in Yellowstone?
If you said pronghorn, you know your stuff. Sometimes incorrectly called antelope, the American pronghorn is the fastest land animal in North America. There are approximately 500 pronghorn living in Yellowstone. Fun fact, pronghorn are also known as speed goats.
Bighorn sheep also call Yellowstone home, with a population of about 500 in the park. Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep are the largest wild sheep in North America. Muscular males can weigh over 300 pounds. These animals are more sensitive to human disturbance, so please stay as far away as possible. If you encounter a bighorn ram while hiking, especially during the rut, do not make eye contact. Turn slightly sideways and walk away down the slope. If you face the ram or are on higher ground, the ram may see you as a challenger and charge you. Bighorn sheep like high elevations with rocky, steep terrain to make for easier escapes from their predators.
One such predator is the mountain lion, also known as a cougar. These are the second largest cats in North America. Only the jaguar, found in Arizona and New Mexico, is larger. Cougars are another example of an apex predator found in the greater Yellowstone area, weighing in at as much as 200 pounds. These are some of the rarest animal sightings due to their incredibly elusive behavior. Year-round population is estimated to be between 30 and 40, with higher populations in the summer.
Lynx are also incredibly elusive. Like the cougar, it makes counting lynx very difficult because of how secretive the species is. This is a much smaller cat, coming in at about 30 pounds at the most. Bobcats are just about the same size as lynx as well.
Coyotes inhabit Yellowstone and are slightly larger than these two previous residents, weighing in at about 40 pounds. Their population decreased by about 50% after the reintroduction of gray wolves, but has since rebounded to what the NPS describes as abundant. There are many more species, both on land and in water, and to cover every animal would be an entire book dedicated to just that. So that's a wrap on the animals of Yellowstone. Robin, do you have any travel tips to share?
Yellowstone is one of my favorite parks. It is one of the national parks I have visited the most, 3 times so far, so I definitely have some tips to share. As we have learned, Yellowstone is a big park. It can take over 3 hours to drive from one end of the park to the other. If you have a week to spend there, I highly recommend spending a couple nights in each main section of the park. That way you can really spend some time exploring and not feel rushed. There's a lot to see and a lot of diverse landscapes here. Mammoth, Canyon Village, Grant Village, and Madison are perfect places to stay so you can hit all areas of the park. Also check the NPS website prior to your trip to see if there are any closures, such as roads or trails. Justin, what is your favorite thing about Yellowstone, or maybe a story you'd like to share?
The story about our time in Yellowstone that always comes to my mind first is more of a warning than a fun story. We were camping during the 150th anniversary of the park in 2022. It wasn't an ideal outcome, but a very good reminder that we cannot control the weather. We can make the best out of any situation with a positive attitude. Every single day it rained, but we bundled up, put on our rain gear, and went out hiking and exploring despite the less than ideal conditions. As we hiked up the Dunraven Pass Mount Washburn Trail, it started to hail, and we had to turn around when we were so close to the top. It was a really good reminder that safety is paramount in these remote locations. No matter how close you are to the end of a hike or how close you are to accomplishing your goal, safety and making smart decisions is always the top priority. When we got back to the parking lot, lightning became intense and the severity of the situation escalated quickly. We were so glad to be off the trail. Always have a plan and look at the weather ahead of time. Cell service isn't always available in the parks, and weather conditions can change quickly in these mountain landscapes. So be aware of your surroundings, and remember, it is always better to be safe than sorry. The trail and the park will always be there to go back to if you aren't able to finish a hike that you were particularly excited about. Ultimately, we were evacuated from Yellowstone, along with all the other park goers. Many of the bridges and roads were washed out. It left me wanting to go back to see some of those views in better weather and to have more opportunities to see wildlife that was likely hunkered down during all that rain and snow.
I remember that so vividly. What a unique way to remember and have experienced Yellowstone. I am also excited to go back and explore more of the backcountry. 99% of all visitors explore a mere 1% of the park. That means very little of Yellowstone is actually ever seen, and the off-the-beaten-path terrain is explored by so few.
That is so interesting that such a small amount of the park is actually ever seen. Junior Rangers, if you're working on your Junior Ranger book, here's a pro tip. Look for Ranger-led programs. Rangers can help you learn how to protect nature, spot wildlife safely, and maybe even get a closer look at those famous geysers. I encourage you to visit the NPS website Virtual Junior Ranger page. Here, they take a deep dive into the geology and history of how Yellowstone was formed. If you have your Junior Ranger book with you, take a look at page 7. My favorite question here is, if you could be any animal in the park, what would you be and why? I would be a bald eagle because I would like to be able to fly. Currently, there are 29 nesting pairs of bald eagles in the park. Take a moment and pause the podcast and have everyone in your group tell what animal you would be and why. Robin, what animal would you be and why?
I would be a black bear, so I can munch on sweet huckleberries all day long and sleep all winter because I don't like the cold. And here's another fun task for Junior Rangers. Learn how to leave no trace. That means picking up trash, staying on trails, and respecting wildlife. If you complete your booklet, you'll earn your very own Junior Ranger badge. Make sure to go to the Virtual Junior Ranger page on the NPS website and recite the pledge with the ranger on the site if you are not able to participate in person at Yellowstone, or just not able to make it to a ranger during the hours of availability. The Yellowstone Virtual Junior Ranger pledge is, as a Virtual Junior Ranger, I, Robin, promise to learn all I can about Yellowstone National Park and its plants, animals, history, and natural features. I will continue to learn and teach others about how to protect the natural world. How cool is that?
That's super cool. The idea of national parks was so successful that Yellowstone was just the beginning. The National Park Service didn't officially start until 1916, more than 40 years after Yellowstone was established.
That's when the government decided it needed a whole team to protect and manage these parks. There are currently over 20,000 NPS employees. The number of NPS units and employees is always growing. In 2020, New River Gorge was elevated from a national river to a national park, making it the national park's newest member as of 2024.
So kids and parents alike, you're all part of a much bigger tradition of caring for nature that started over a century ago. Every time you visit a national park, you help keep that tradition alive. You are the caretakers and the stewards of these wonderful landscapes.
National parks belong to all of us. Whether you're exploring geysers at Yellowstone, hiking in Rocky Mountain, or spotting bears in Denali, your visit helps support these incredible places.
Before we go, here is another trail trivia. What animal, once nearly extinct, made an epic comeback in Yellowstone?
It's the gray wolf. In the 1990s, conservationists reintroduced wolves to Yellowstone. Not only did wolves thrive, but they also helped balance the entire ecosystem by keeping elk populations in check.
That's a perfect example of how nature finds balance when we protect it. So, Junior Rangers, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, you're part of something awesome. Whether you're headed to Yellowstone, the Grand Canyon, or a historic site like the Lincoln Memorial, there's a Junior Ranger adventure waiting for you. Also, thank you for finding us and taking the time to join us here at NPJR. We truly appreciate you spending your time and listening and learning with us.
Thanks for tuning in to NPJR Podcast. Grab your booklet, explore, learn, and protect. And parents, get ready for some fun family time in the great outdoors. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, share, and follow us for more outdoor adventures. And to all you Junior Rangers out there, good luck on earning your badge. And hey, if you've earned a Junior Ranger badge recently, send us a picture. We'd love to see it.
And if you want, feel free to share your latest story from your time in a national park unit. Who knows? Maybe we will mention it on one of our upcoming podcasts. Be sure to include in the email that you grant us permission to share this story on one of our episodes. I will include our email address, npjrpodcast@gmail.com, in our show notes. Until next time, happy trails, and remember, the earth is ours to explore and protect. So let's get out there and do it.
Explore.
Learn.
And protect.